Before we start the video, I'd like to remind you to like and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed it. Also make sure to stay until the end for the funniest comments. Now, a Reddit channel presents r/AskReddit. What's a story you always wanted to tell on this sub, but nobody ever asked the right question? My family was once rescued from a hurricane by a Colombian drug lord. We lived aboard a boat and our engine went out while Wilma was forming around us. We ended up having to do an emergency tack into a hurricane hole that was in his territory. He helped us fix our engine, gave us advice on our next trek so we could avoid waters that were pirate infested, and invited us to his house for dinner. I wish I knew his name, because my family would have been in serious danger were it not for his kindness. I noticed that whenever I'd order Jimmy John's for delivery, the drivers were either really uptight when I'd answer the door, or seemed very uninterested and wouldn't look at me. This was surprising, because I try to be really nice to service industry people. I was doing a group order and wanted to make a note in the comments section to bring extra napkins when I finally pieced it all together. My account had an old comment still in the special instructions tab, saying do not make eye contact at the door. I must have made it with my friends when we were drunk as a joke and forgotten. That means the past dozen orders or so all had that attached to the order ticket without me knowing. I was once hanging out outside a bar in a bad part of town. My friend and I were just waiting for an Uber when a group of sketchy fuckers came up and started talking to us aggressively. We were 90% sure we were going to get robbed. I was just kinda over it, I had a bad day already. I just started making a string of dick jokes in conversation until the guys said this guy's weird and left us alone. Something similar with my dad's friend, Tim, let's call him that. Tim and his brother were heading to the parking lot after dinner and this idiot comes running to them with a gun demanding money. Tim's reaction was to ignore the gunman. He just continued making casual conversation and his brother understood and played along. The gunman said something along the lines of weirdos and ran away. I guess if you show you're crazier than them then they'll leave you alone. Drank 2.5 glasses of ouzo and some beer, then got thirsty and drank a lot, and I mean a lot of water. Next morning collapsed in the bathroom and ended up in a coma for 1.5 days. Turned out I got water poisoning. Could have died because of the booze and later because of the water but survived both. Moral of the story, with heavy booze use small glasses. One time my dad was extremely thirsty and saw a little bottle of water sitting on a table in a Greek restaurant. Since my dad was desperate he grabbed the bottle and chugged the entire thing very quickly and then proceeded to cough and nearly throw up on the floor. Turns out he just drank the equivalent of Greek moonshine. He almost threw up, and he was pretty drunk. I felt so bad for him. Moral of the story, smell the liquid you're about to drink before you down it. I always knew my great-grandfather as the guy who lost his eye at an accident with a firecracker. This Christmas I found out that it saved his life twice. Once, because he had tickets for the Titanic, which he then missed because of the accident, and the second time, when he was supposed to fight in World War I. He went to the office, where he was supposed to sign up for it, told them that he was disabled, which they did not believe. So he took his glass eye out of the socket and placed it in front of the officers. So yeah, losing an eye isn't the worst that could happen. My uncle lost his eye, and it got him in trouble with the law. After the accident he got a forestry job. He had to go to a remote part of northern Canada to assess tree density. This story happens in the early 1970s. He drives up to the middle of nowhere, grabs his pack and hikes out of the bush for a week. While he was away the RCMP show up at my grandparents to find out where he was. His car was parked next to a dead body in the middle of nowhere. Turns out someone else murdered the guy and my uncle just happened to park next to the body, but because it was on his blind side he didn't notice the corpse when he parked. Also the RCMP only found the body because they were investigating what they thought was an abandoned car. The cops weren't buying the story until my uncle pulled out his glass eye to prove it. My buddy and I went to the gym one night. It was a 24-hour gym, and we are introverts, so we liked going late at night when it wasn't busy. Nobody else was there that night. It was around 1 AM on a weekday. I finished my workout first and hit the showers. I'm washing up in my little shower stall and minding my own business. Then all of a sudden, I feel cold water running down my back and my ass. That buddy of mine filled up a bucket of freezing cold water, snuck up behind the stall with his eyes closed, obviously does not want to accidentally see my or ass, put it over the stall door and poured it. I screamed in terror because it was so fucking cold, and he was laughing his ass off. I decided to get him back. I was gonna flash my dick at him. I finish my shower, and I overhear footsteps coming to the change room. The change area and shower area were separated by a thin wall. I decided this was the moment. I run to the change area in my towel, whip it out, and yell, "Wanna see my penis?" It wasn't my buddy, it was some random guy who showed up for a late night workout. I was mortified. I showed this dude my peep. My buddy was outside the locker room dying. We never saw that guy at that gym again, for good reason. TLDR, my buddy poured cold water down my naked ass. I decide to flash him my dong as payback, flashed someone else by accident. One time when I was 12, my mom took some of her friends, my sister, my brother and I to a crater-type lake. We rented a paddleboard, which my mom used first. She bragged that she had gotten all the way across the lake in one go. Of course, being 12, I wanted to beat her. What I didn't know was that she'd said halfway across the lake. So, I took that paddleboard and went at it. I got so far across the lake that I couldn't see the shore. Of course I couldn't get lost, it was just a big circle, and had quite a few people who were also out on the lake ask me if I was okay. I, unaware of the oddness of a preteen by herself in the middle of a lake, said yes, I was perfectly okay. When I was nearly across the lake, a rescue boat pulled up beside me. The teenage dude driving it said, "Kid, your family thinks you drowned. They're freaking out. They sent me out to make sure you were okay." He offered me a ride back and I refused. I turned my paddleboard around and went back to shore. I checked my watch and realized, holy shit, I was out there for 4.5 hours. My family yelled at me because my dumbass nearly gave them a heart attack by paddleboarding. TLDR, I paddleboarded for long enough that my family thought I was dead. I worked at a hospital as a doctor's assistant in the orthopedics department. This one time there was a patient who stole a bunch of sheep, and when he was cornered by the police he grabbed one and jumped off of a bridge. When asked why, he said, "I thought sheep are soft like clouds, so nothing will happen to me." Needless to say, he broke every single bone in his body. Poor sheep. The most unexpected people I ever met under the least exciting circumstances. I was a janitor at a truck stop / rig mechanic place. They worked on semi-trucks, RVs, tour buses, whatever. Sometimes a mechanic was working late and there'd be some Joe Blow trucker or Midwestern family waiting to get their vehicle back. So one night I'm bebopping around, gathering trash or whatever, and turned the corner to see 6 Japanese men, all wearing black leather, studs, eyeliner, spiky hair and all. The most guys I've ever seen. Of course I'm like, what the fuck? But we got to talking, and I find out they're a Japanese heavy metal band called Duran Grey. Never heard of them. They were on tour and heading to Seattle when they had some issues with their bus while passing through my state, Idaho. They were nice as hell and encouraged me to look them up, and I wished them a good tour and went about my work. One of my favorite memories, totally bananas. Sweet boys. Hey guys. Thanks for watching the video. Please leave a like and subscribe to never miss any content. Also turn on the notification bell. I'd really appreciate that.